Welcome to this session, How Law Firms Use Intelligent Technologies to Better Serve Clients in M&A. My name is Pete Malone and I'm part of the SAP Mid-Market Strategic Innovations team in North America. My team is focused on developing new routes to market with and through private equity, selection and advisory firms. To force multiply our go-to-market, we collaborate and co-innovate with our partners to effectively provide SAP solutions to the mid-market customers we serve. About 80% of the SAP customers in North America will fall into the mid-market. If you look at customers that chose to run SAP for their business last year, 1 out of every 3 were either private equity, growth equity, or venture capital backed. Through our partnership with ACG, we developed the SAP M&A Ambassador Program, which is the foundation for our conversation today on how law firms are changing to meet demands of a fast-paced M&A environment. Today, I'm joined by 2 professionals from the legal and technology spaces, Craig Corder and Ahmed Shaban. In this session, how law firms use intelligent technologies to better serve clients in M&A, you'll hear from Craig and Ahmed around how changes in billing and IT can dramatically improve how a law firm functions. You'll hear how law firms are changing their visibility and value during an M&A event. And you'll hear how artificial intelligence and automation are changing the landscape of legal services. Let me now ask our special guest, Craig Corder, to introduce himself.
Thanks, Pete. I'm Craig Corder, Chief Operating Officer of Katten, an international law firm.
Thanks, Craig. Ahmed, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Hi, Craig. How are you? Nice seeing you. My name is Ahmed Shaban. I'm the Managing Director of Fulcrum Global Technologies. We provide technology solutions for the professional services and legal industries.
Thanks, Ahmed. Thank you, Craig. I first met Craig and Ahmed in 2019, where we were working on building a platform for Craig's law firm, Katten. Craig was looking to provide his firm with a platform that would enable better, more useful, and more accurate information to manage this firm, along with embracing best practices to drive growth and improve productivity. He chose to partner with Ahmed and the team at Fulcrum to deliver the next generation digital legal business platform. Craig, can we start with your role as the Chief Operating Officer at Katten? Can you tell the audience a little bit about Katten and some of your operating philosophy?
Sure. As I said, Craig Corder, Chief Operating Officer of Katten. Katten's an international law firm, and we're known for really understanding our clients' business and approaching the practice of law from a commercial perspective. Our core areas are listed on the slide that you'll have, but relevant to this audience, we're the go-to firm for many of our clients in finance and financial services with a strong reputation in M&A and private equity. My background is 6 years in the Navy as a surface warfare officer, 13 years as a practicing trial lawyer, and 20 years in law firm management, including being the chief operating officer of 3 AmLaw 100 firms, including one of the world's largest law firms. As COO of Katten, I work with the chair and the CEO, both of them are partners. And I'm responsible for all the firm's operations and all of the firm's business professionals. And that means the areas would be finance and technology, marketing, business development, practice management, innovation, professional standards, administration, and I'm probably missing one somewhere in there, but it's basically all the different operations at the firm.
Craig, thank you for that introduction on Katten. Craig, can you talk a little bit about your operating philosophy within the firm?
Sure. I'll focus on my operating philosophy in the area I think we're going to talk about today. And one of the things I feel strongly about is that standardization's important and that purchasing a bunch of disconnected point solutions have held law firms back for a long time now. I think that law firm technology is generally behind where our larger clients are. And I think that's a result of the fact that law firms think that their operations are special and unique and that they need solutions provided by law firm specific providers. The problem is those law firm specific providers tend to be smaller companies, and the solutions don't scale well, and they don't mature over time. And so what happens is we take a system like a financial system and we plug a lot of point solutions around it by different vendors, and then we can't upgrade our financial solutions. So what happens there is every 10 years, 12 years, we rip and replace. We do open heart surgery and we replace the financial system. And that approach keeps law firms behind in technology. And I think that's one of the critical things that we as an industry need to solve.
Excellent. That's probably a great segue for Ahmed. A question for you, Ahmed. You and I have worked closely for some years now. I've seen firsthand your depth of knowledge in the legal space. I've seen some of the innovation coming from Fulcrum. Can you share with the audience a little bit about your go-to-market strengths and some of your strategy around what you're offering for the legal firm environment?
Well, first of all, thanks for the kind words, Pete. And I can't tell you how much I agree with Craig's thoughts in terms of what holds the industry back. And so we came to this industry, and we came to with the approach that it needed to be transformed, that it was already undergoing a good number of those dynamics, very similar to the way accounting went about 20 years ago, where you had a lot of small point firms and then they started to consolidate, and then you get your big 8, your big 6, your big 4, things like that. And they started to take on the global strategies. Here with legal, they're all chasing the same global clients. And so going to market with knowledge of their needs was very important to us. Being great listeners is key, but really having the depth of knowledge, anticipate the situations and solutions they're really seeking, and be able to help them deliver globally, because they are chasing a lot of the same global clients. Then you add the other issue, which is there's a lot of discomfort and an unsettled view with all these dynamics that are coming in this technology age of 21st century, and they're all surrounding the concepts of security and data privacy and so forth. So diversity is another one. So bringing solutions that have relevant content was key. Going in with a culture that's very innovative, one that brings a lot of intelligence to the client in those areas, security and diversity, and really just helping them ease the tension so they can operate. I mean, these firms need to be able to deliver service, and they need to be able to do it in a way that allows them to put their clients first. And it's very difficult to do today with all the challenges that come around it, especially data privacy. I mean, these are law firms we're talking about.
Right, understood. And follow-up question to you, Craig. Your investment here with Katten, your modernization of Katten, wasn't your first digitization project. Can you take us through some of your previous experiences and then share with the audience some of the lessons learned?
Sure. Most of my career in professional law firm management is related to, large change, large, especially technology related change. So I have put in or ripped out each of the major systems that serve law firms today, including the largest implementation of Elite, which is one of the major systems out there in its time back in the early 2000s, and SAP and the like. So I've got a pretty good background in the major systems, and the kind of the major lesson that I've learned is you don't want to do this very often. These are hard projects; they're career-defining projects, and you want to do it as few times as you can. And so when you put something in, you want it put in that can be upgraded, that's going to grow over time. And if you standardize and you do it right, you can get to that.
Excellent, thank you. Ahmed, over to you. I've got a question for you here. Having been involved in this project with Craig and previous projects with other legal firms, I'd like your perspectives on and some context around how the technology has changed during these projects from the start to the finish.
Well, it really falls along those lines, similar to what Craig said. You you're dealing with firms of various sizes. I mean, this professional services and legal industry, you have firms of 40 lawyers and firms of 20,000. And so having technology that scales, that first of all, building it on those best practices, building them on these standardized processes, and being able to deliver that, and then having the automation be able to scale with it. I mean, we have solutions with firms of like 30, 40 lawyers, and we have the same software, the same system running a firm of 10,000. And so they can process billions of dollars of transactions and grow with it. And as I said earlier, there is going to be consolidation, and some of these small firms will go to medium, and medium will go large, and so on. So scalability is key. And scalability is not just power of processors or maybe even fine architecture in the code base. It really goes beyond that. It's being able to scale the processes themselves so that they can apply. That means you have to have global elements to it. A firm could even add their second office in another country. You need to be able to handle the localizations. There's a lot of statutory requirements that go on in legal because they're all bar registered of some sort. The countries each have their own regs. The way they financially report are all defined. And then, of course, there's things like taxes in other countries and so forth. So, you need to be able to scale across the board. It's not just a vertical scaling of the things. And this technology base, that's where you can get that done. So it becomes a manifestation of the growth of the origin and the clients and being able to dial in more. And then I think the last part of this, you also have to be able to scale with the different use cases that happen today. So, we used to just use technology as a standard desktop. Then we went to, laptops and laptops to mobile. And now we got going with watches and things like that. So for us to be able to use our solutions, and they do work in different elements, be able to have a lawyer have their watch on and it's already starting the clock for them, or if they're just using language processing and they're speaking to the solutions. I mean, that's the excellent outputs and value that comes from using a robust platform that can scale. So that's what I mean by it.
Excellent. And Craig, another follow-up question for you. You talked about innovation and building a platform for the future. Do you want to talk a little bit more about some of your thought process there? How do you keep in touch with and on top of innovation?
So I think the key to being able to do innovation is to make sure that we've got a good foundation. One of the biggest issues with most innovation projects deal with data, at least in law firms, maybe not everywhere, but at least in law firms. And the key is the cleanliness of the data. How good is your data? And what we found was under some other systems, the data is not very good. There's not a lot of rigor in how the data is managed, in how it's maintained in the system, requiring certain data types in certain fields. So if your data is no good, then you're probably not going to have great data-related innovation projects, or you're going to spend most of your time cleaning up data. So I think one of the key points in innovation is to make sure that you've got good data governance, that you've got good data cleanliness, and that you're really paying attention to that. And that's one of the drivers that I look at when I went to SAP at my last firm and at the firm I'm at now.
Understood. Thanks, Craig. Ahmed, in the past, you and I have talked a little about the future of law, and you've just mentioned it there with smart watches and mobility and such. I'd like your opinion on the future of law as it relates to artificial intelligence and automation.
So, it starts with data. I have a saying inside the firm, if you have really bad data, then artificial intelligence becomes artificial stupidity. And so, the realities are, the hyper focus needs to be on information. So you've always heard it, information technology, chief information officer, but it's always been focused on the other stuff, hardware and software, and nobody's really lasered in on it. And this data is the interconnections of that data across the business systems and the value chain relationships and the supply chain, the way that things are being done now. Automation is almost outpacing what business can do to keep up with, but it's pulling it in. So, our view is it starts by making sure that you have really good, solid values around data protection, data quality, data in science as a whole. And you can't do that without really keeping standardized processes, because without those standardized processes, people have different definitions. And I think, we've learned a lot just from this pandemic in the last year of how business continuity is affected when people are taken out of the picture. And so, automation has taken center stage now. You could, what used to happen is you had really crummy data in the system, but there was always the guy that was on the keyboard or whatever, who could explain it or could put it in a spreadsheet or could fix it. And that's just, outside of the fact you can't keep up pace that way anymore. Then you have scenarios like the pandemic that really show the impact that can have. So what we like doing is, again, the fundamental technologies that we use, yes, they're all, rock star technologies. They're high, high degree processing, focused on machine learning and things like that. But you want it learning the right things. In order to do that, you want it to give it the right data. In order to give it the right data, you have to have processes that are standardized. And the only way to do any of that is to have systems and solutions that are focused on processes, focused on end-to-end processes, not point solutions that are transactional that can allow those errors to occur. And so, that's why we're thrilled about it. I mean, it's no secret that, we're high on SAP because it's such a process-based set of solutions, and, taking it into the cloud, taking it across to apps and everything, that was the easy part for them. But they've always managed to maintain that priority of making sure that they're always process-based, so that the quality of standards stay, so that validations of data can be protected. And you can put the rules in the system. And that's what we spend a lot of our time doing with law firms. We take the rules out of the people's heads that are unique and put them in the system because it's ready for that. And then they can go ahead and focus on the next level. See, the last thing, I'm sorry to be long-winded about it, but the last best part about this is you want to get this stuff out of the way, because it's really about what you're doing with that intelligence. And, there's a lot of opportunities today, like what RISE has to offer with business process automation and the focus of optimizing the processes, looking at the cycle times. How can we make them quicker? How can we make them more efficient? How can we make them more accurate? You can't do that without those metrics and those key intelligence points, and you can't do that without, again, the slow and steady process underneath that's really solid. So, don't you agree, Greg? I mean, isn't that what is coming down?
Yeah, Ahmed, you bring up the point of, cloud and the like, and we don't want to spend our time maintaining a financial system. That's not our core function. And so what we've done is we've basically outsourced that to you. You keep our financial system in the cloud for us. We're about to go live here, May 17th, on the new system. And we don't have to worry about that. And it will be upgraded, and when it needs to get upgraded, it will be seamless to us. And we can have our technology and our innovation people and the like then get to the next level where they're actually don't have to worry about the streets and sewers and the fundamentals. They're going to be able to go out and really, really innovate. I know that back when I was at Baker McKenzie, that when we went live, we were, and I don't know how the audience is, but we were not on HANA and we were on ECC. So our hardware and our version was behind. And your team with ours upgraded both the hardware and the system to S/4HANA in a weekend, and nobody at the firm knew it. And that just is unheard of in law firm technology. That just doesn't happen. So now that we've got that kind of your problem, not ours, we can then focus on being more innovative, putting our resources where we'd really like to have them.
And couple that with the fact that the new one that you're on there's a commitment from SAP for 20 something years of support or whatever that may be. I think it's up to 2024 or something. So there's no worry going forward. And I actually agree even wholeheartedly more from my side, the same dependency. I don't have to worry about a lot of these little things. The iPhone 81 came out, adjust the screen size this much. Those things are behind. And I get to really focus on what I said earlier, be really good listeners, zoom in on the requirements and the anticipated requirements that the industry is looking for, and really put all of our time into that. And so, having that kind of cutting edge approach. Our culture is like that, right? It's a very innovative culture. But we put the priorities first. So we started with security because it's law firms and it's legal, and that just has to happen. And then we went in to the rest of those things across the board. Diversity and collaboration and listening and just really bringing that. And every one of our solutions come out that way. And there's an app for everything. If you go on any app store somewhere, and it just really needs to be that way for lawyers. It needs to be that way for their clients. And if I can just add one more thing, Craig, the other part of this is the fact that majority of your clients are on SAP. And so the being able to have that stretch and cross those bridges and allow them to start to talk to each other and whether it's in the form of payments or evaluations of bills all the way across, but just giving them that level of service so that they can meet those expectations with you, no different than others. I think that's another key piece.
Yeah, and the fact that pretty much anything is available, I think, is really important. One of the challenges we have at law firms is what they call best of breed, and people at the firm say, well, this piece of software is best of breed. It's just this is what we need to put in, and that's where we cause ourselves problems, because now we've got 10, 15, 20 different vendors, and the systems don't talk to each other, and we end up spending our time doing integration. Where if we as law firm leaders say, no, we've got our strategy, it's based around SAP, maybe that package is a little bit fancier, maybe it has some, real kind of cute functionality to it, but the core piece that you're looking for is available, and maybe we can innovate with Fulcrum and SAP to get a few more things added. But you've got to draw the line and not let everybody across the firm decide on these little bespoke pieces of quote unquote best of breed software, because you turn your IT environment into a zoo. And if you have a strategy and you live with it, we get to simplify and like I said, go off and do other things with our resources.
I think that's critical, Craig. I think that's critical because when you think about, I call all that glue, all that integration, all that stuff, just glue between everything. So you're sticking everything together, and glue is expensive. Glue dries up and it has to be replaced, it has to be maintained, and it's very costly. Now, when you take a look at law firms, because you want to talk about a microcosm of the M&A universe. You look at law firms. I mean, every time they add an office, what do? They go to another city. They add a group of partners. They got to bring them into the fold. And go to another country. They do the same. And so, truly being able to scale for M&A. I mean, we have a firm that we started with. When we started with them, they were 378 lawyers, and now they're over 4,000. They're in 56 countries. And they do that how? By being able to scale the same platform and just add the values from all the different pieces. And so what I love about it, and especially, when you look at it from the perspective of M&A, I don't have to change anything here. My platform here, and all I really need is your data. Give me your clients, give me your timekeepers, give me your projects, give me your matters. That's all I need. And I will pull it all in. And it also reduces the impact of the culture clash, because that's the biggest risk I've always seen, is, every time you bring in a new firm or new something, you get these head-butting, she does it her way. Well, it's Donna's been here 22 years. Don't you tell. You don't need all that. You keep her. You can keep her. You can keep it all. Just give me your data, because we're going to do it best practice anyway on this platform. And that prevails over all these little nuances for needs in the in the point solution approach to doing things. So I agree completely.
Craig, this session has been incredibly insightful. Thank you very much for your time and attendance here. I want to thank the audience for joining in for this session as well. Just a reminder that the sponsors, the M&A Ambassador sponsors for today's session, will be available this afternoon for virtual networking events. So I'd encourage anybody in the audience that has enjoyed what they've heard here, please join that virtual networking and hear a little bit more from the team at Fulcrum. Another reminder to the audience here that we have David Moline, the CFO of Moderna, following this session. He's going to be interviewed by DJ Paoni, the SAP North America president. I want to thank the audience again, and a special thanks again to Craig and Ahmed for joining.